Hidden wealth strategy of dynasties. When we think about wealthy families, most people imagine stocks, real estate, luxury houses, and powerful companies. But the oldest and most influential dynasties in the world follow a slightly different rule. They always keep part of their wealth in gold because they see it as long-term security rather than a short-term investment. Gold has survived the rise and fall of empires, currency collapses, financial crises, and wars. Paper money can lose value and governments can change, but gold has repeatedly preserved its worth across centuries. That is why dynasties do not think in years or business cycles. They think in generations. Their goal is not only to become rich today, but to ensure that their wealth can survive far into the future. Where is the world's gold hidden? When we see wealthy people in the media, we usually see the visible part of their fortune: companies, luxury homes, investment portfolios, and large businesses. But the most important part of wealth is often hidden. Many powerful families keep part of their fortune in physical gold stored in vaults. Gold does not rely on banks, electricity, or digital systems. It simply exists as a physical store of value. Because of this, dynasties often store gold in private vaults or secure national reserves, where it is protected from inflation, financial crises, and political instability. Rothschilds, the bankers of gold. The Rothschild family built one of the most powerful banking networks in Europe during the 19th century. They financed governments, wars, railways, and large industrial projects across the continent. But their influence was not based only on credit and banking. Gold also played an important role in their power. A famous historical story tells that Nathan Rothschild bought large amounts of bonds and gold after the Battle of Waterloo, gaining significant influence over the British financial market. For many years, the Rothschild family was also closely connected with the London gold market, where the global reference price of gold was set. This shows how central gold was to their financial strategy. Rothschild strategy. For great financial dynasties, gold is more than just another asset. It represents independence. Whoever holds physical gold is less dependent on banks, currencies, or political systems. Gold keeps its value even when financial systems change. That is why the wealthiest families historically kept part of their wealth outside the visible financial system. This hidden reserve often does not appear in official statistics or reports, but it can be exactly what allows a family's wealth to survive revolutions, crises, and economic changes. Rockefellers, from oil to gold. John D. Rockefeller built his fortune through the oil industry and became one of the richest men in modern history. However, his family did not keep their wealth concentrated in one sector. Over time, the Rockefeller dynasty diversified into many assets, land, financial investments, and commodities. During the Great Depression in the 1930s, when millions of people were forced to sell assets simply to survive, experienced investors quietly accumulated gold. They understood something important. Crises are temporary, but gold has historically maintained its value over time. Rockefeller strategy. Today, the Rockefeller family wealth is often associated with foundations, investment funds, and large corporations. This is the visible part of the fortune, but large families rarely keep all their wealth in public assets. Part of their wealth is often stored in stable assets such as precious metals. Gold is particularly important during periods of crisis. When stock markets fall or currencies weaken, gold often becomes a store of stability. For wealthy families, gold is therefore not about quick profit. It is about protection. British royal family and gold. For the British royal family, gold has always had a deeper meaning than simply money. It represents power, tradition, and continuity. The crown jewels, golden scepters, and royal regalia symbolize authority that extends beyond a single monarch or generation. These objects are not meant to be sold. They exist as symbols of a monarchy that continues across centuries. At the same time, the United Kingdom also holds large gold reserves in the Bank of England, showing that gold still plays a role in national financial stability. Gold as symbol of empire. Throughout history, gold has always been associated with strength and stability. Unlike paper money, gold does not depend on political promises or financial institutions. This is why empires historically used gold to demonstrate their power. Even today, gold is not used for daily payments, but it still serves as a strategic reserve. Countries and powerful institutions keep gold because it represents security during uncertain times. Emirs and oil wealth. In the last 50 years, many countries in the Gulf region became extremely wealthy because of oil, but their leaders also understood that oil is a finite resource. One day, the world will rely on different energy sources. Because of this, several Gulf states began converting part of their oil wealth into gold. Gold does not depend on energy markets, and it cannot simply run out like natural resources. Dubai eventually became one of the largest gold trading centers in the world, with enormous quantities of gold traded every day. Qatar and large gold reserves. Qatar surprised many observers when it dramatically increased its gold reserves. This was not a random decision, but a strategic move. The global economy is slowly shifting away from fossil fuels, and countries that depend entirely on oil may face challenges in the future. By accumulating gold, Qatar is preparing for a world where economic power may depend less on energy resources and more on financial resilience. Gold is viewed as a long-term store of value that remains stable regardless of currency or market changes. Hidden dynasties and private vaults. Not all gold in the world belongs to governments or central banks. A significant amount is believed to be owned by private families and stored in highly secure vaults. Countries such as Switzerland and Liechtenstein are well known for private banking and secure storage facilities. Wealthy families often use family trusts to hold assets like gold for generations. Because these holdings are private, they rarely appear in public statistics, but they can represent enormous hidden reserves of wealth. Industrial families in Europe. After the First and Second World Wars, many industrial families across Europe lost factories, land, and businesses. Entire economies were devastated, and paper currencies frequently collapsed. Families that had preserved part of their wealth in gold were in a much stronger position. Gold could be hidden, transported, or exchanged even when other assets disappeared. Because of these historical experiences, many European dynasties continued to keep part of their wealth in precious metals. Why the rich do not sell gold? A common question people ask is, if wealthy families own gold, why don't they simply sell it? The answer is simple. Gold is not meant for everyday spending. Instead, it acts as a reserve, something that should only be used when everything else fails. When markets collapse or currencies lose value, gold can still be exchanged for goods and services. That is why dynasties often hold gold for generations and sell it only in extreme situations. Economic cycles known by dynasties. History clearly shows that economies move in cycles. Periods of prosperity are often followed by crises, and crises are eventually followed by recovery. During the Great Depression in 1929, gold preserved value when other assets collapsed. When the gold standard ended in 1971, the price of gold rose dramatically. And during the financial crisis of 2008 and the pandemic years, investors once again turned to gold as a safe haven. Experienced investors understand these cycles and prepare for them in advance. Gold as crisis protection. Banks can fail. History has shown this many times. When a bank collapses, money stored in accounts can become inaccessible or lose significant value. Currencies can also weaken because of inflation or political instability. Gold is different. It does not rely on any specific bank, government, or financial institution. That is why it is often described as the final form of financial security when other systems become unstable. The Qatar example. Qatar provides a modern example of how countries think about long-term financial strategy. When the country increased its gold reserves, it demonstrated long-term planning rather than short-term speculation. The world is currently experiencing a transition in energy systems, and the future balance of economic power may change. By holding large reserves of gold, Qatar prepares for a future where stability may depend more on financial strength than natural resources. Family. Example, small-scale gold. This principle does not apply only to countries or billionaires. Many ordinary families follow the same logic on a smaller scale. Gold jewelry, coins, or small bars are often kept as a form of savings. Even if the value is relatively small, it represents something real that can preserve purchasing power during difficult periods. Slovenian memory example. In many families across Central and Eastern Europe, gold has long been viewed as something reliable. Rings, necklaces, and coins were often saved for decades and passed down through generations. During periods of high inflation in Yugoslavia, when paper money rapidly lost value, gold jewelry often retained its worth. People did not keep gold because they were wealthy, but because they wanted a form of security during uncertain times. Common strategy of dynasties. When we examine powerful families throughout history, we see the same pattern repeatedly. They rarely rely entirely on paper money or financial markets. Instead, they keep part of their wealth in tangible assets such as gold. Most importantly, they think in generations rather than short-term profits. Conclusion: the secret of the rich. From banking dynasties to royal families and modern oil states, one idea appears again and again. Gold acts as a bridge between generations. It allows wealth to be preserved outside political systems, outside financial markets, and outside temporary economic trends. The real secret of long-lasting wealth is not only how money is earned, but how it is protected. And for centuries, gold has been one of the most reliable ways to do exactly that.